What's up, boys? Welcome back to another video. Yesterday we talked about Bitcoin, and so far that position has not yet been playing out because yesterday ended up being an inside bar on Bitcoin. For those of you who do not know what that is, it's essentially this was the previous day's high, that was the previous day's low, and you did not take out the high, even though that was the first target that we set. So does this mean that our idea is invalidated? That's what I'm going to be getting into within this video. And I'm also going to give you guys an update on Fartcoin for those of you who watched the setup from yesterday. If you haven't, the video will be linked down below. Highly recommend you check it out because Fartcoin is still playing out. I know that's super funny, like trying to say Fartcoin in a very serious sentence, but yet it will make you money, and I'm going to give you guys an update on that situation. But right before we get into the video, yesterday we were at a running tally of 43 out of 55 total analyses, which brings our accuracy to about 78% over the last 3 months. And would I consider yesterday's idea to be invalidated? I wouldn't necessarily, and that's not just because I'm trying to avoid a loss or whatever. It's just, the target, like, we will still reach the target. And yesterday just ended up being an inside bar. Could it really, predict anything about that? We will see though. Like, as long as we do not start closing bearish, then yeah, that target will still eventually be hit, because ultimately price is just sort of coiling up in the sense that, you're getting relatively equal highs and you're getting some relatively equal lows. Although this is one of those moments where, if you ever find yourself at a crossroads where you are starting to doubt your idea, or the market is not giving you the reaction that you think it should be giving you, is very important. First thing that you do is always hop onto the higher time frame, which in this case is going to be the weekly chart, because if we have a weekly bias, if we keep the weekly bias in mind, then we can still be confident in our analysis. And in this case, last week's candle closed bullish. This week we have a lot of news. If you take a look at the Forex Factory, today we have two, three, four pieces of news, and then Friday we have non-farm payrolls. Tomorrow we have news as well. So this is overall shaping up to be a very volatile week. Now, as for why we got a inside buy yesterday, is yeah, the previous daily candle was huge. For example, we went from $93,000 at the low to 95,500. And I know for Bitcoin, this isn't much of a big candle, but again, this wasn't something that I could have, predicted. But overall though, based on the weekly bias, because last week's candle closed bullish, we are still bullish overall, right? Until proven otherwise, of course, which right now I'm going to give you guys the breakdown. So one of the interesting things that I do want to mention before any of you come at me with your pitchforks and stuff like that, is that the idea that I shared yesterday, in the sense that yesterday at the time that I was recording the video, it was here, right? And you wanted to look at this fair value gap. Ultimately, you want to wait for price to retrace back into it, and this was TP1 that I set. So purely based off of this trade alone, I know the ultimate target would have still been here, but this was TP1. I did mention that this was TP2, and ultimately I think that yesterday was going to touch the previous daily high. It did not, but that's fine. So before you guys come at me with your pitchforks, this was a valid trade. And even if you were to just set the target, or rather the entry at the start of the fair value gap, if you took your profit there, that would have been a 2R trade, which in my books, that's what I aim for. For most people, like most of you watching this, unless you have a proven strategy where if you go more than 2R, you are very consistently profitable, 2R is going to work out great for the majority of you. So yeah, purely based off that, we're still good. So it's not that, oh, this trade got invalidated or whatever. Yeah, that was a TP1. We made money there. So just going to add to my running count, instead of 43 out of 55, it's going to be 44 out of 56, which I don't know what percentage that puts it at, but I would reckon somewhere between 78 to 79%. So those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. I'm essentially sharing market updates based on the smart money perspective every single day on crypto. So far you are enjoying these analyses, subscribe, because I'll be coming to you guys daily with these types of videos, sharing trade ideas. So today, let's take stock of what we have. So yesterday's candle closed as an inside bar. So until this is one of those moments where we keep the higher time frame in mind, but at the moment, we do not have a clear setup yet. So overall, higher time frame bias is still towards the upside based on last week's weekly close, as well as the fact that you have multiple, swing highs right there that are relatively equal highs. And the reason why I'm leaning towards that direction has to do with the overall trend, which I've mentioned. First of all, you had a really strong change in state of delivery right here. After you got this candle close here, you basically cemented the fact that you are now in bullish order flow. Now, what does that mean? If you take a look at Bitcoin price from before here, that's a bearish order block, price breaks lower, comes back up, fails to break above this order block, right? Instead, it goes lower. And once it goes lower, you form another new bearish order block. Makes sense so far? Boom. And you can see the pattern here, which is the fact that you are in bearish order flow this entire time. And recently, you have now you have definitely broke above this block, which if you guys remember, or if you guys have been watching these videos for the past month, I was like, okay, until this one gets broken through cleanly, you can't really say that Bitcoin is in bullish order flow. Well, now we are in bullish order flow, which means that any opportunities for a retracement, for example, here, that's the start of the fair value gap. That's how we caught this entry here to go long, targeting this high, which was super simple, super straightforward. The only catch is that this doesn't show up every time. So we wait until these types of high probability days and high probability trading setups show itself, and then we act. That's the whole game of trading, which is also why we look at multiple other pairs so that we don't run out of opportunities. More on that later though. So for now, like based on the order flow, you are still incredibly bullish. So nothing changes there. Even if you do like come down to sweep these lows or whatever, that's just going to provide you with an opportunity where you get a counterparty liquidity sweep, but then you still follow the trend. This is why you see many instances when you are in bullish order flow where you will sweep like swing lows. And a lot of people would jump into that thinking, oh, you know, it's a market structure break, but in reality, it's just manipulating you so that it goes to the other side. That's how bullish order flow works. Sell-side liquidity sweeps lead to an expansion in price towards the upside. And so that's something we can look for. Now that we understand the higher time frame order flow, it's also important to mark out the fact that this fair value gap right here is still valid, right? In the event that you return back to this level, that's still a level where we want to be looking for longs, basically anywhere here. Right, and that goes from 91,650 to 88,400. Now, I'm not saying that you are going to return to this, because if we take a look at the lower time frame right now, we can see that even though we have relatively equal lows over here, these relatively equal highs are still remaining to be the target. Although, as of the very current moment, there is still no setup. And one of the reasons I say that is because, first of all, yesterday's daily buys closed bearish, right? And so today's daily buys should be pointing towards the downside, which does not align with our high time frame order flow. Secondly, if we go down to the 1 hourly time frame, this is not looking bullish as well, because recently you have broke below this low right here, and now this becomes a valid bearish order block, which price just retraced into during, what time is it? The London session, right? 12 a.m. Now, of course, the London kill zone doesn't start until 2 a.m., but still, today's London session retraced into this bearish order block, and currently it is going lower. So at the moment, we have a clear higher time frame idea, which is bullish, but then lower time frame is showing us bearish. And so this is one of those examples where the timeframes are not aligned. This is where I believe most beginners actually get screwed up, because they have a clear idea on a higher time frame, but then they struggle to apply this onto the lower time frame, or they may be really good at applying lower time frame stuff and reading the lower time frame tape, but then they're unable to apply it in line with the higher time frame buys. And in this case, this is one of those days where I think I don't see a very clear trade opportunity, and so I'm just going to leave it be. Now let me see if we can go into the like an even lower time frame to see if there is potentially a trade idea. And so far, not really. The only thing, like the only possible saving grace is that, if you do sweep out the Asia low, the red box here, that's the Asia session, and the Asia low for today is going to be at $94,000. If you do sweep it out, that will give you some kind of a manipulation during the New York. Essentially, London will end up being the accumulation, or rather London and Asia will end up being the accumulation. New York morning today is going to end up being the manipulation. And then you will, if the order flow aligns and actually shows you bullishness, then that's the point where you can start taking a trade. Of course, I cannot predict if that will happen, because currently, as of recording this video, it's still in the London session, and New York news actually comes at around 10 a.m. and actually 8:30 as well as 10. So the only thing I could suggest for this video is to just read the markets, and the thing I'm trying to do here is just provide you with the various scenarios that could happen, and if they do happen, then you know the exact game plan on how to take advantage of this. But at least for today, I don't see, or at least for right now, I don't see a clear, long opportunity yet. So we're just going to leave Bitcoin be, but that's a completely different story for Fartcoin. Now, before we continue on with the rest of this video, I'm holding a free masterclass in 10 days teaching you the 6 skills that you need in order to go full-time into trading. This is going to be 2 hours straight, no fluff, no BS. I honestly believe that if you are stuck in trading right now, then this masterclass is going to help you out a lot. This is, again, even though it's free, there is no catch here. It's not going to be some entry-level, quote-unquote webinar that you attend for 2 hours just to listen to me talk about myself. I'm actually going to give you guys the value. There are going to be multiple pieces of bonus materials. There's going to be just, a lot of value. If you are stuck, this is going to help you out a lot. Sign up with the first link in the description box below so that you can secure your spot. Otherwise, going back into Fartcoin, as we were mentioning before, Fartcoin has, just to run you guys through real quick what we're expecting so far. bullish order flow. Higher time frame trend is pointing towards the upside. Over here, you have a buy side liquidity level that has not yet been swept, and I believe is going to be the target. Now, what ended up happening yesterday on Fartcoin as well is the fact that you got an inside bar, although this is looking a little bit better than Bitcoin because you actually still closed bullish. Now, what's interesting about Fartcoin yesterday is that this sell side liquidity sweep right here, followed by the change in state of delivery, which is exactly what we talked about in the video yesterday, is known as a broken base. Today, we have another broken base, right? Literally 2 days in a row, consecutively, you sweep sell side liquidity, and then boom, immediately you break market structure. This is a broken base plus double confirmation, which is one of the highest probability entry models that you could possibly have when it comes to trading anything. And some of you with the more astute eyes will also realize that there has been multiple broken bases actually, because that's a sell side liquidity sweep followed immediately by a strong break in market structure. Over here, you sweep sell side liquidity followed immediately by a strong sweep in market structure. So overall, you can see that Fartcoin is just so bullish, and it's so clear that this is the one that I'll be focusing on. And even today, like before I recorded this video, for those of you who are following me on Twitter, which by the way, if you would like just a little bit more, let's just say prompt of updates, this is a setup that I've already shown. At the time, I was expecting a retrace back into this order block right here. And so far, that is exactly what's happening, right? Price retrace into the order block. And so far, it's going up. Now, the target for today is going to be very straightforward. I do think that an entry here, stop underneath the order block and targeting a minimum of 2R. But today you're definitely going to hit this target, right? 1.16. That's, I hope today's not going to be an inside bar again, but I think the ultimate target is going to be there, giving you roughly a 5-to-1 risk reward. For those of you watching this video right now, you are not too late yet. The only thing that could potentially throw a wrench into this plan is if Bitcoin starts tanking, right? Because so far, again, our higher time frame bias on Bitcoin is bullish, but the lower time frame is pointing towards the bearish side. If Bitcoin starts tanking, then we could be targeting these relatively equal lows instead, and this trade is not going to hold up. So just for that matter alone, I would suggest maybe going half risk or go full risk, but just be prepared to cut your position if Bitcoin starts breaking down during the New York session. That will be the plan for Fartcoin today. But overall, I think that this is one of the higher conviction and more obvious trades that exists in the markets at the moment. Like, sure, you have many other coins that are, doing pretty decently, but Fartcoin so far, amongst all the charts that I've looked at, remains one of the most cleanest and one of the most obvious charts out there. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this, drop a like, drop a comment down below, and even drop a comment on what coin you would like to see me do an analysis on. I would love to bring that back. I used to do that in the 2021 bull market, where at the end of every video, I would open the floor up for you guys to, suggest a coin that you would like to do an analysis on, and I'll be super happy to do that. But for now, all right, let's keep the running streak going of about at least 75% win rate. And yeah, guys, cheers. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.